Hi, welcome back to my channel.
This is my friend Tani. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel. I am Raphaella, hey, and I'm here today with a special guest who needs no introduction at this rate, but I'll let her introduce herself anyway. So drum roll. Tani! Please, Tani, introduce yourself. Let us know for the purpose of the video what you do, so what your role is, what you studied at university, and which industry slash sector you work in, please.
Yeah, of course. Hi, so good to be back. Thanks for having me again. My name's Tani. I'm currently a senior account executive at a strategic communications agency based in London. So I currently work on clients based like in the sectors of mental health, financial services and education. And what I studied at university, for my undergrad I studied sociology, and for my masters I studied international public relations and global communications management. So yeah, if you haven't already guessed, I work in PR communications.
Thank you very much. All right, so I guess that addresses the first question. Okay, so swiftly moving on. If I'm not mistaken, you took a couple years out after your bachelor's degree in sociology, and then you came back a few years later to do your master's. What were your reasons behind that? Was it more so because you wanted to gain some work experience and then further your studies, or is it because you realized that, you know, having further qualifications would potentially better your chances of getting a higher paying job or getting into the industry you wanted to be in?
Yeah, I think exactly that, the latter point. It was more, so what I did my 2 years work experience in, quote unquote, wasn't actually in PR and communications. So one of the reasons I decided to do a master's was just to get a better understanding and kind of use that as a springboard into getting into the communications industry. So I wouldn't necessarily say you need to have a master's in PR and comms to work in PR and comms. But for me, it kind of just made sense at the time, and I kind of always, you know, I kind of really wanted to do a master's, and you know, wasn't sure, and I always knew that I would always take a break between finishing my undergrad before starting my master's. So that's exactly what I did. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. I think that even addresses one of my questions later on.
Okay.
We'll get to that after. Okay, so I often hear public relations and communications like used kind of interchangeably, and I guess we're lucky to have you today so you can kind of shed some light on, like, is there really a difference between the two, and if so, what is that difference?
Yeah, I'm gonna like just kind of share my how I see it more so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think nowadays, yeah, you're right, it is used interchangeably, but I don't actually think that's correct. Like, I don't think it should be, because they are slightly different. Mm-hmm. The way I see it, like public relations, you know, it's heavily like around media relations, external stakeholder like communications, reputation management, crisis management, you know, basically anything that's got to do with the public. Mm-hmm. And then the way I see communications is like internal communications, but obviously you can have like, you know, external communications as well, but that's just how I kind of differentiate it in my mind. So I personally don't really use those terms interchangeably because they are very, very different, and public relations, you know, the way I see it is just, you know, very media relations heavy, so mm-hmm. that just means like liaising with journalists, things like that, mm-hmm. As an example. But yeah, that's kind of the difference in my mind. Okay. So don't quote me on that, because, you know, I'm not... no. Like, yeah, I work in the industry, but yeah, I'm not going to know everything, right? But yeah, so don't quote me on that, but that's just how I see it.
Thank you for shedding light on that, though. I think, again, that's, in a sense, it's self-explanatory, but we don't think of it as self-explanatory, like the whole public relations dealing with the public. So thank you. And then to go back to, so you said you're a senior account executive.
Yes.
So what are your like responsibilities? What's your day-to-day like? And I guess what do you love about your job as well?
Yeah, so I enjoy my job. There's a lot of writing involved, and I really enjoy that aspect. I also really enjoy the client management side of it as well. So being the principal point of contact, like account teams or like for the client. Yeah, kind of just making sure that we're running a tight ship on the account and making sure everything's running smoothly. And also just like the management aspect of it, because obviously we've got junior account executives, so having the opportunity to manage them and watch them grow. I really enjoy that part of it as well. But also just there's a creative aspect of it as well. And the agency that I work in, we do quite a lot of digital work. So that's managing social media platforms, drafting copy, things like that. I quite enjoy it, and obviously seeing their social platforms grow. That's fun. But I will say I work in corporate comms, so it's not the consumer side. So our campaigns aren't like, we don't have any press events or things like that. It's completely different. So the enjoyment comes from like the writing, like writing leadership pieces, drafting comment really quickly, and the tight turnaround is quite good or it's fun because of the adrenaline, although it can seem quite stressful at times. Having to get something signed off really, really quickly, knowing that you're able to do that is also kind of, I wouldn't say fun, but enjoyable.
Yeah. Oh, sounds good though. It sounds really fun. It sounds like you always have something to do.
Yeah, and I think also because I'm in an agency, like, this may sound really cliche, but like no day's the same because you're working on so many different things at once, and things are changing really quickly. And also in agency life you get put on different accounts. That you can get like taken off an account. So for example, at the end of this month I'm moving off one of my client accounts and being put on another that works in like the sustainability space. But obviously if you're working in-house, it's just the same. You're doing PR for the exact same company for God knows how many years, and like there's only so much like newness you can get out of that, whereas agency, there's so much newness that comes in. You're winning new clients every day, maybe not every day, that's a bit extreme, but like very frequently. So you have the opportunity to work on loads of different kind of sectors and also broaden your knowledge. Absolutely. Which is great. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. So from what I'm hearing, it takes a lot of organization skills.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of, obviously, communication skills.
Yeah.
You have to have good interpersonal skills.
Yeah.
Creativity.
Yeah, you need to be creative to a certain extent, and I think, if you've been working on an account for a very long time, that's why it's always nice to get a pair of new, fresh eyes, because there's only so, if I've been doing something, one of my financial services accounts for the whole year, there's only so much creativity I can bring to that. There's only so much perspective I can bring to that, new perspective.
Yeah.
So you have to be creative, and also in the corporate space, there's only, in my opinion, there's only so much creativeness you can bring, because all of the campaign ideas or the peak ideas, they still have to have a corporate spin on it. And obviously corporate is kind of, the general idea is corporate's kind of dry. That makes sense, really, really rigid, which is true to a certain extent. So yeah, but I think having the opportunity to work on different teams also means you get to know everyone that you're in the agency that you're working in, which is important. But yeah, it's good. It's a lot. Like Alexa just said, organisation skills is a top priority. Time management, knowing how to upward manage as well is really, really important, because you have so many different account managers. So you're trying to manage upwards on your various different accounts. You can't just think of yourself. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
Oh, thank you. And then actually to reel that question in, it ties in quite well with my next question and to something that you said earlier. So if someone did not have any work experience, how would they go about, landing a role in communications or PR?
In regards to trying to, land an entry-level role, for example, I think, and this probably is the same for most sectors, it's just really important to have get an internship or volunteer if you can.
Okay.
So at my agency now, we were actually running an internship kind of scheme where we've had quite a few interns over the summer coming in. Some of them have landed permanent roles with us or been offered permanent roles, and obviously others haven't been so successful. But it's a great way because it gives you insight into what the industry is like, what the job role is really like, because I feel perception of what you're going to be doing it seems really glamorous, and then when you're in it, it's depending on the sector, it's not as glamorous as what you may think it would be.
Okay.
Like it's not like Scandal, if you've watched that, obviously. And
Yes.
Olivia Pope is a PR. She's a fixer, but she works in PR. Like, but hers is reputation management. If you haven't gathered, like, or crisis management as well.
Yeah.
A mix of the two. And also the crisis that they're dealing with is ridiculous.
Next level.
Yeah. But again, she's a fixer. She spins things. She's a PR pro. But in regards to like transferable skills, so for example, if you're working in retail, time management is important. Just being able to manage in general is a skill that, you know, is really, really needed, especially if you're going into agency life, because as I mentioned previously, you're managing yourself and you're managing your workload for various accounts. And obviously if you've worked in retail and if you've been a manager, for example, you're managing so many people's like rotas, your colleagues' rotas, kind of similar. But then like a really important skill is writing. You need to be able to write, and most of the entry-level roles require like a writing test, because you know you'll be writing press releases at the very least, even if you're not writing like thought leadership pieces at the beginning, or like writing comments, you'll be writing press releases, and they need to be like quick, snappy, straight to the point, but also, you know, telling a story, because in PR you're storytelling.
Of course.
So if you like storytelling, get into PR as well.
Get into PR.
You're telling a story to the public. You know, you want them to understand a certain perspective.
So to people who would be right now in school, they would want to focus more on roles that will showcase their writing skills.
Yeah.
So writing an article somewhere or a blog post somewhere.
Yeah. So having a blog, I have a blog, and that's something that I kind of like in any interview that I had when I was first getting into the industry, like, you know, I'd like literally send them my blog and be like,
did you?
Yeah. And not that it's even like been updated recently, but yeah, you know, if they, you know, having that passion to write without it being like just for work is really, really useful. So if you like writing, you can pick up writing corporate, non-corporate quite easily. And then also just the creative aspects, like if you like creativity, especially on like the digital clients, like you have the opportunity to kind of, you know, work with videographers, work with photographers, also like the social clients or like the not-for-profit, like those sort of campaigns are also much more fun, because, you know, you're dealing with celebrities, and you know, there's a bit of like influence management as well, and like brand partnerships and things like that. So I think, being creative as well is important. You know, if you know how to use like Adobe Photoshop, things like that, you know, that's a skill that's like really, really useful as well.
Okay, thank you. And would you be able to recommend any like job search engines or any companies that people could apply for their internships or jobs for? Apart from Indeed, obviously you can go to Indeed and type it in, but like, are there any specific ones that you have personally used? And I also know, sorry to cut you, I know that ages ago you had also recommended sometimes going to agencies and getting like, agencies to help you get into a workplace. Yeah, like recruitment agencies. So in PR there's like a number of recruitment agents, like PR and comms or marketing as well. A number of recruitment agencies that obviously specialise on those like securing job roles for people in that industry. In regards to like search engines on how to get internships, I only really know any that are specific for black people. Or BAME. For BAME people. I only really know engines that are specific for BAME individuals. So the Taylor Bennett Foundation, they're really, really good. They can help you get permanent roles as well as like internships, and they also offer like a Summer Stars internship program where they work with like a number of like really, really top PR agents, like PR and comms agencies in London or like the UK, and help you score an internship there, and it could potentially lead to a permanent role. And then also BME pros, so black, minority ethnic pros. They also have like a mentorship program where they can, you know, if you're looking to get your foot into the industry, you can find a mentor who can kind of guide you. He's also a similar background that can really, really help. Other than that, I would probably just say LinkedIn. It's good old LinkedIn.
Your best bet. I can't think of any others, and then obviously just different kind of recruitment agencies. But if you literally type in like PR recruitment agency on Google, like a number will come up.
Okay, so guys, go type those, and she's giving you the plug.
Yeah, we can put the link of like the Taylor Bennett, and things like that in the description box.
Yeah, because those are things that people don't necessarily know about.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then I had another question for you. So, what areas do you see kind of like changing and evolving in like communication / PR? Because like we live in an age where digital technology, social media trends, etc. are constantly evolving. So in the future, what specific areas can you identify that would change?
Yeah, I think, and it's kind of changing already, and there's two aspects of it. So print media is kind of just going downhill. Like most people don't really get, unless you get a subscription to a paper, you don't really, that's people usually access their media online. Social media platforms, or just, the publications online platform, because like most articles that actually get published in print also get published online as well. And then again, I just feel like in regards to PR, just the way media relations is really evolving. So, especially before COVID, you're picking up the phone and calling journalists a lot more. Whereas now you pick up the phone and call a journalist and they're like, just send it to me over email. So I feel like that's really, really changing, and everything's just going to be digitally moving forward. Like journalists don't really want to be hearing your voice. Or have you ringing their mobile, and that used to be the way before, and especially because people are working from home now.
Of course.
Like way more like this hybrid working model that most companies are adopting. That's really, really changed, and I think it's probably just going to change even more.
Okay, thank you. We're going to round up soon, but I suppose one of my favorite questions on the series thus far is, what are some things that you wish you'd known before going into your industry? And what are some lessons that you've learned, as a young person, graduated, went in, were there things that you just did not know and you had to learn the hard way? Were there mistakes that you made? And if so, would you be able to share that with the people, please?
Yeah, sure. I can't think of any mistakes off the top of my head, but I would say like the one thing that I kind of wish that I knew or had more insight on is just the long hours. So I currently work, I usually start between 8:30 and 8:45 and finish at 6:30. And I think that touches on my earlier point about the value of getting an internship before you actually, get a permanent role, because at least it will give you the insight into what like a day in the life is actually like.
Yeah.
But also just, I think, films and TV shows have kind of glamorized PR. Yeah. And although like PR is great, don't get me wrong, like not every PR agency is going to be like that, or not every role is going to be that glamorous. Like also, being very sure of the sector that you want to go into before you start kind of doing your job search. I think that's really, really important as well. What was the other part of the question?
Oh yeah, so it was just things that you wish you'd known, and then any mistakes.
Yeah, I can't think of any mistakes.
No.
Yeah.
And then so apart from like obviously the glamour part, apart from that, it's just the writing.
Yeah.
Was it like a massive shock? Because obviously you said you write to different audiences, cater, etc. When you're in university, you're obviously used to just writing. Yeah, exactly. Is it a massive change? Is there anything that someone could do to prepare themselves aside from the internship? Because some people may not be able to land this internship, but would still want to go for the entry level. So how could they adequately prepare themselves for that? Or do jobs have training in place?
Yeah, so most agencies, you give you the opportunity to do like external training courses just to better your writing. Yeah. Obviously I did a master, so on my masters, they placed heavy importance on the writing. So that obviously helped me and being able to write to different audiences. But I think the key thing with writing in regards to PR is just getting to the point quickly, using short sentences if you want, because it's completely different to academic style. And also remembering that your audience are like, although corporate, for example, in my position, they're still normal people, so like getting rid of the jargon, like just getting straight to the point, short sentences, just making sure that it flows, which you obviously do. You have to do in academic writing as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very different to academic writing. That's really that I did have to make that change, because in the masters I was still doing like loads of like academic essays.
Absolutely.
Aside from like the creative writing. So yeah, that's a really good point. So yeah, just kind of, I would say like just practice writing like short pieces, or if there's anything that you really, really care about, just like in your free time, like writing blogs on those pieces, and just like getting anyone in your family to read them, just to see how it kind of lands, but also looking online because you'll find articles online, like opinion pieces and thought leadership pieces online, like reading those and having it, like getting an idea of the tone of voice that's used, and then kind of like implementing that in your style of writing. That will, like, you know, get you a long way, I think.
Amazing, thank you. So we've gotten to the end of the video almost. I have one last question. Obviously you mentioned your blog, which I presume you're referring to your photography blog. So I suppose I wanted to ask whether you wanted to plug yourself, and also just tell us whether you feel that prepared you for the role that you're in now, because obviously you have to, you know, have a target audience, you have to retain your audience's, you know, attention, keep the people subscribed and coming back for more. So do you feel like that had prepared you for that? And what's, I suppose, the plan for you in the future?
Yeah, so that, you're right, that is my photography blog. I can put the link, although I actually think I've taken my blog off my website now.
Oh.
But I can put the link to my photography website in the description box.
Yeah.
If that's all right, yeah. But yeah, I do think it kind of did, because like a lot of the work that I do now is also like community management, like social for my clients. So obviously, you know, growing my own platform on social media at least allowed me to know what I need to do or share, you know, practical recommendations for what they can do to grow their platforms, and also just how to manage their like social media communities. So I think that really, really helped. So yeah, I will. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah, and then future-wise.
Oh yes, future.
Yes.
I don't know where I see myself. I think just going with the flow. I really enjoy where I work and the clients that I currently work on. And you know, yeah, I feel like I don't know.
I have a question for you. Would you ever see yourself moving abroad?
I mean, I would love to move abroad.
Yeah.
But it's just not that easy.
It's not. But I presume there would be loads of opportunities, especially in comms. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. There are so many comms agencies that, you know, are global. Therefore, giving you the opportunity to do secondments abroad, or like them being global means they have global clients, meaning that you get to go to, you know, the country that your client's based in, you know, to execute work. I've not had that opportunity just yet, but obviously COVID. Of course. So if I'm able to do it at any point in my career, I'd be so grateful, because I would love to do that. But at the same time, it's just not that easy.
Of course.
It's just, yeah. So at the moment, it's definitely a dream.
And you're just taking it one day at a time.
Yeah, taking it day by day. Like, I'm enjoying being in the corporate world at the moment. I think the one thing I would say is maybe down the line, like years down the line, probably go in-house at some point, just to get an experience of what that's like. But I'm really enjoying agency life at the moment. Like, I'm young, it's really fast-paced, that's what you need. Whereas when you're a bit older, maybe like going in-house might just be right, you know, especially when I have a family, for example.
That's true.
Because it might make a bit more sense being less fast-paced, depending on the company that I go into, that is. But yeah, I think that's probably what I'll say to that. Oh. Taking it day by day.
Taking it day by day. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was really insightful, honestly, and really helpful. And to anyone who that helped out there, or to anyone who has more questions, then obviously feel free to write them in the comment section below. Also, please consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos from different graduates working in different fields. And if you enjoyed the video, then please give it a thumbs up to, you know, show your love and appreciation, and just for me to know that the series is going somewhere and it's helping someone out there. But yeah, so thank you for being on the channel once again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you in the future again, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.